Good morning and welcome back to my garden. We are slowly entering our mid-winter season. Although the garden looks a bit tired, this is actually the perfect time to start preparing for a thriving spring season. Today we will be removing structures and trellises and the plants from the previous growing season, clear our garden beds, protect our soil and start setting the foundation for next season's success. Okay, first of all I'm going to start by removing our irrigation systems. We haven't received our first heavy frost as yet, but we should within the next week or so, maybe 2 weeks. But you can see that there is some frostbite on some of these late fruit. This is the peppers. These trees just want to continue yielding more fruit. But as you can see, there is some cold damage to some of the fruit. So like I said before, I tackle the plants, I will remove the irrigation lines as well as all my trellises or supports structures in the garden, which will make it a lot easier to deal with the plants in the first place. But in the second place, to clean the trellises and store them away also makes for easier maintenance in the long run as well. If you are using drip irrigation, make sure to rinse out your components to ensure that there's no clogging. If you use spray irrigation or mist irrigation, just ensure that you clear your lines of water so it won't freeze and damage the pipes or the components. I have used these kebab sticks just to help me keep my sprayers upright, and this will just go back into the compost. There we go. I'll just keep this together with a cable tie and put it away in our garden shed. I will also save these tomato vine clips and the Velcro tape where I used it, because I can always use that next season as well. And I will also invest in either purchasing or building better trellises for my tomatoes next season. The in-ground bed that I placed the other day, I actually want to have a wire trellis running the 10-meter length, 3 of them, 3 rows, and then plant my tomatoes in that in-ground bed. I have to say, these little clips actually impressed me. Not a single one that I've seen that broke so far. This one snapped loose, but it didn't break. I saved all of my tomato clips, and if you have any trellises or structures that you want to reuse next season, you should get that out, get it cleaned up, inspect it for rust or rot, make the repairs that you need to make and store it away in your garden shed. That will make maintenance a lot easier and setting up your garden in the new season a lot easier as well. Now that the irrigation system has been removed, as well as the structures and my tomato vine clips and all of that stuff, it is time to deal with the spent plants. Okay, and now not all of the plants should be discarded in the same way or dealt with in the same way. I will also just advise you to inspect your plants, because some plants that don't have diseases, we can actually leave to compost away in the bed. But other plants that did suffer diseases, I will remove from the garden bed and deal with them in the compost. Or if it's really bad, just burn them. Also, next season I won't be using this bed for tomatoes. These tomatoes did contract the disease, so I will rotate them to another bed and have something else in here. So I do practice garden rotation just to ensure that I don't have disease, or to minimize any disease for next season. Also, with some of these late fruit, I'm going to keep and save seeds from them. The reason why I save seed is, as you could tell from this season, I used seed that I bought from a nursery, and these tomatoes specifically suffered. So every season that you reuse seed that you saved from your tomatoes, it becomes more and more adaptable to your specific area, to your microclimate, as well as it becomes more and more resilient to influences of the elements in your climate, as well as it becomes more resistant to pest pressure as well as diseases. So saving seeds, next season I will have a plant and fruit more adapted to my specific microclimate, and the year afterwards even more so, and so on and so on, until I have a heirloom plant that is thriving in my garden without using any herbicides or pesticides or fungicides or anything of that sort. Plants that had diseases on them, like these tomatoes, must be removed completely, roots and all, and then dealt with accordingly, either in a hot compost heap, or it should be dried out and then burned, to make sure that you don't carry the disease over into your garden next season. And we can pull out these weeds as well. You can look at your raised beds as well and repairs that needs to be made, like over here. I'll take note of that and repair that a bit later. This is another paprika plant that I want to actually save and overwinter. This is also some kind of pepper, I don't know what, so I'll transplant that one as well. So there are two peppers that I want to transplant, and that brings me to the second way to deal with some spent plants. Okay, now this one is a small paprika. It had one fruit now, and that small one I never got fruit from at all this year because it was completely overgrown. I'm hoping that it might be a jalapeno or a habanero, but I won't be able to tell until it actually sets some fruit. But I'm going to take those two and save them indoors and nurse them through the winter. I'm also going to take one of the pepper plants, cut it back a bit, transplant that into a pot and take it indoors. The reason for that is that I want to use cuttings to propagate new clones from them, so I can have an early start next season. And I know that they performed actually quite well in the garden here. I do have more seed, but I actually want to keep myself busy through the winter time and do some experiments, and clone some cuttings. So another lesson learned from this season. My peppers, although they are about a foot and a half apart, I'm going to plant them even further apart next season. And I also want to plant them in ground, because what happened a lot this season in this bed is that it kept basically falling over. And I think the reason for it falling over the whole season is the fact that I've had 3 branches at the bottom and then topped it with compost and soil. And I think as it settled through the season, so next season it might be a lot better. Yeah, and there we go. It's got a lot of fruit still on it, so I'm just going to remove all these peppers. And normally I won't just chuck them in the compost, but I've got a deep freeze full of peppers from this season. These peppers did really well. Okay, so I'll take these to the office and then I'll get to the next group. In some areas, some vegetables like peppers, hot peppers, eggplant might be considered perennial depending on your climate. You know, if it gets very cold, it will be considered annual vegetables, but if it can survive over winter, it can be considered perennial. You know, if you want to treat it like a perennial, what you would do is to cut your limbs back basically all the way to the main stem, more or less, and then if the root bulb will survive through the winter, it will come out of dormancy in the spring and you will basically have a head start. So what I'm going to do with this plant is basically cut it back and run a bit of an experiment and see if we can treat this guy as a perennial. So I'm looking at the limbs and I'm going to almost cut all the way back. Clearly I've planted too close to each other over here. So here you can see exactly how these plants fell over and basically started smothering each other. Now those branches that I remove, I can just leave over winter in this garden bed to decompose. If you want to treat it as an annual plant, you can basically just cut the tree off just above the root bulb and leave the roots in ground, cut it off, let this decompose, and then the root bulb will also die and decompose during the winter, but will help aerate the soil to let your roots rot away in ground. So you don't have to pull up the whole plant. Okay, and just to avoid the mess that I've had going on here, I'm going to take this one and transplant it somewhere over there. Oops. Okay, so I've got some better spacing between these peppers now. What I am going to do, try and remove all the fruit. And I'm going to mulch this bed, try and remove the grass. I was stupid to throw the grass in there, but I am going to mulch quite thickly so it should suppress the grass. And I'm going to let all of this decompose in the bed. Then I'm going to cover this bed with a thick layer of leaf mulch. So now that I've got a thick layer of leaf mulch on top here, okay, you'll see I nearly buried all of these pepper plants. Remember, I don't want these pepper plants basically to grow through winter. It is winter, so they will die back. The reason why I've got the leaf mulch here is to protect the root system so that won't freeze during the winter. And then come spring and it comes out of dormancy, it will grow again. Well, that's what we hope for with this experiment. And now I just want to chat a bit deeper about mulching. I am going to put a second layer, but we'll get to that. So, mulching. Why do I mulch my garden beds over the winter? Bare soil is vulnerable to erosion and nutrient loss. A thick layer of mulch will help to retain moisture and regulate the soil temperature and keep weeds from taking over. I can't remember who said it first, but there is a saying that says Mother Nature is modest and wants to be covered. And if you don't cover her with a mulch, she'll cover herself with weeds. Plus, as this mulch slowly breaks down, it will feed the soil with more nutrients as well, making my soil more and more fertile. And yes, there's a variety of organic material that you can use as a mulch. Like I've showed you, you can use your spent plants and lay them down on the soil and let it decompose there. You can always use straw or hay bales. That's always an excellent mulch. I'll obviously use the straw instead of the hay, but if you can only find hay, it's also fine to use. We used our autumn leaves. You saw me rake it up and just pile that nice thick layer in here. You can use wood shavings like I did here, or wood chips. Okay, the reason why I did basically a 3 or 2 layer, I've got the spent plants from the growing season. On top of that, I've got my autumn leaves, and then I've got the wood shavings. Is just because I have it on hand and I want to put a nice thick layer on top. And wood shavings or wood chips don't blow away as easily as leaves do. So I put this on top of the leaves to actually keep the leaves in place as well. Or you can even use lawn clippings, your grass cuttings, either dry or green, and use that as a nice thick mulch in your garden bed. And all of that will eventually compost and feed your garden. And you can even use a living mulch, or better known as a cover crop. We've got a lot of clover that started growing in the garden, so I could have left that and used that as a living mulch over the winter time. You can always sow radishes, turnips, winter rye, mustard cress or watercress. I just wanted to show you here, I've got quite a bit of clover growing here in this bed. And a dog that's always looking for attention. Hey, kan ek met die camera praat? Okay. Okay, now if you want to, you can grow cover crops like clover. Clover fixes nitrogen to the soil, which helps for next season's fertility. But yeah, you can plant cover crops like clover, radishes, peas, and winter rye, which will help your soil stay active during winter, help all the microorganisms thrive and stay alive, and it will also refertilize your soil. Cover crops are nature's way of regenerating your soil. Plants like clover, radish, turnips, peas. I know peas and clover put nitrogen back into the soil. I think radish as well. Winter rye, mustard crash, all of these plants replenish nutrients back into the soil, and they prevent weeds and improve your soil structure during the winter time. In spring, these plants, these crops get turned into the soil, boosting fertility and giving your plants a strong start in springtime. So again, to just go over, or well, to explain what I did here, I basically decided to keep some of my pepper plants in the bed, and I want to basically see if I can have them as a perennial crop in this bed. Now, with this mulch basically will regulate my soil temperature in this bed, and it will, when the frost comes, it might freeze the leaves, and the leaves and stems may die back, but my root ball will remain alive, and it will be insulated against the frost, and it won't freeze and die back. Or at least that is the experiment that I'm hoping to run, so I don't have to carry everything into indoors during the winter time, but I can leave them, and if they survive, they will come back out of dormancy in spring, and I'll have a head start in the garden again. What I can do further, but I first need to repair this garden bed, is to put the hoop frame over this garden bed as well with my frost blanket, and that will give an extra layer of protection from frost over those plants as well. I'm not going to do it today, but that is an additional step that you can take. Taking care of your garden now during this dormant winter time so taking care of your garden now and preparing it during this dormant winter time, this dormant winter season, sets the stage for a healthy and productive new grain season coming up. Let me know how and when you start preparing your garden beds for planting in the new season, and you can just drop a comment in the comment section below. I truly hope that you found value in this video, and if you enjoyed this content, please remember to like and subscribe to the channel and share with your friends. In the next video, I will clear that bed where our spent sweet corn is in, and a bunch of weeds. And stay tuned to watch how I take a more aggressive approach in clearing and preparing that bed. It won't really help I try to straighten everything out there, because somebody keeps playing in the sawdust. Even like you. Look at him. Anyway, thank you for spending time with me and Bruno today. We love you. We appreciate you. God bless you, and we'll see you in the next one. Go. Don't chuck the...